and Public Communications. So with that, I will call the meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Rahman.
Present.
Long.
Here.
Howell is absent with notice, as well as Cavell. Smith Charles.
Present.
Viper.
I'm here.
Hoffman is absent. Gershenson.
Here.
Merkel.
I am here. All right, let's please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, we'll move right into our first budget hearing, item 4A, human resources. In the budget, in the big book, it's on page 199, and in the categorical, it's on page 49. Welcome. I just want to mention what I've been mentioning all along as we've been doing these. This procedure was slightly different than last year. There was a lot more discussion earlier between the fiscal groups and the departments that they service. And a lot of the questions I think have been answered before you get here. And so we have a standard format that we're following, and it's been going smoothly so far, so let's hope that the same thing happens with you. So please introduce yourself, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Heather Van Pooker. I'm the Deputy Director at Human Resources, and I've brought with me a fantastic team to help support the presentation today. We've got Haley from our comp team, Dan is with Employee and Labor Relations, Caitlin is with our benefits group. You'll hear from Melva because I do know that you wanted to hear a little bit more about our learning and engagement programming. We've got Ariane from recruitment, and then of course April still. So that's the HR team that's here.
That's what Jesus. Okay. It's for me.
So one thing that I kind of want to frame up is with human resources, we work within two different budgets. One is the general fund, and then one is the fringe fund, which supports our benefits programming. So I'll be presenting slides on both of those as we go through. First up is our general fund human resources expenditures. You'll see that we've had some upticks since 2020. That really reflects a rebuilding of staff, as you might imagine, through COVID. And some restructuring. We held staff conservatively for a bit. We're now ramping back up to get to full staffing. What you'll also see is an investment in our systems, especially around software. And so on the next slide, in the operating expenses item, that's where I would highlight that where you see from 23 on is where we began really investing in some of our software and our systems. We were able to improve our applicant tracking, ATS, or recruitment system. We're looking forward to implementing new case management software for our employee and labor relations. And we're really excited about, as we do in HR, we get excited about job descriptions and a software system to help us modernize and manage that critical piece of our infrastructure. So that's where you see some investments going for operating on the general fund side. The personnel slide, I want to take a quick second with because it reflects some extras that are in addition to the staff that really support our HR functionality. In terms of HR professionals who support HR services, we're at 47 now, and the next budget year we'll go to 48.5. What you see here includes a diverse abilities program, as well as clerical pool and interns, and so some extra staffing, if you will, that support programs countywide, but they're housed within HR. So I just want to let you know we don't have 60 some HR people running around. And then flipping to the fringe fund piece, you'll see that our revenues here are really reflective of some increases in prescription rebate programming that we've implemented in the last couple of years, as well as we did have an increase in employee contributions to healthcare. We had a $10 bump in that last year, so the increases in actuals are reflected there.
Funny how that works. You raise the rates one year and Next year, there's more revenue. I remember when we did that last year, so
$5 bump or $10 bump?
it had been 5 and we bumped it to 10, is that correct?
No, we hadn't done one in
We,
quite a few years.
okay, so it went from 0 to 10, okay.
So on digging a little deeper into the revenue side again, what's really driving there, the charges for services are around, rebates and employee contributions. Some of these other columns are kind of internal accounting approaches that are used within the fringe fund. Charges for services, the fringe fund charges back departments for the cost of the benefits, and so it's an internal accounting mechanism. And then on the expenditure side, remarkably, expenditures continue to rise when it comes to benefits and fringe fund expenditures. So you see those trending up. Luckily though, we've not had any major expenditures. We've not hit our stop loss in the last couple of years. So literally knock wood, because that means our workforce has not incurred any exceptionally costly individual medical needs. So that's been good for the expenditure side. I will say that prescriptions are going to drive expenses. We just went this past fall to our benchmarking and forecasting, educational event, and they really spent most of their time highlighting for us how some of the new drugs that are coming to market are fantastic in terms of the health benefits that they bring, but they're extremely costly. And so we need to take enormous care with how we manage that, because we need to obviously balance the need to offer every tool available to keep our workforce healthy and live a good life against what we can afford, because those drugs are astronomical. So again, what you see in the detail behind that is really the operating expenses are that driver, what the benefits cost, and as those increase, those are hitting our expenses. Our personnel have been flat in the fringe fund, you can see. And so that's the detail behind. I feel like I'm flying through, but I assume this will stop me. So in addition to highlighting the numbers side of things, I really wanted to also share what this budget is supporting in terms of our strategic priorities and our initiatives within HR, because we're really excited about the direction we're heading. Last year we talked about how we were shifting towards a human resources business partner model, which allows us to put a strategic partner out in the field to work with our departments that we serve, to really serve as that strategic partner as they plan for their workforce needs. It also helps us identify opportunities to improve what we're doing in HR and how that's serving the departments that we connect with. We're really focusing on getting out there and on site directly with the departments that we support. I can't wait for you to hear Melva talk about what she's doing in leadership development and career coaching and some of the training programs that we have upcoming, because it will really shift from more of a skills-based approach, which we're going to continue to do, but into some leadership development, really that career coaching. How do people grow a career here within the county? The benefit strategy, I've been a little maybe transformational as a reach, but I will say we are excited to bring to you this fall the results of an inclusive benefits project that we're working on that really is a look at how our entire range of benefits, soup to nuts, stack up against the marketplace and how that positions us for the future. What do we need to do to have a solid, modern benefits program that meets the needs of our current workforce, but also has that eye to the future for what we're going to need to recruit and retain the workforce of the future? How do we position ourselves to be the employer of choice to really bring excellence to the public that we serve? So I'm really excited about that, and I can't wait for it to be done. So in coming months. I highlighted the recruitment model that we're using as well, trying to honor the integrity of our systems as our merit system demands, but also be flexible to meet the needs of our department partners as we serve them. So doing things like, for example, helping with an executive recruitment model rather than just a standard send your application, push it through the process, more of an executive model for certain positions that are hard to place or are higher level. I mentioned the software we're excited to bring to labor relations for their case management. I think that will modernize the functionality of that department and really give them an edge that they've needed. Also, the job description piece is really exciting. And I think when that comes together with some of the work that the justice coordinator has been doing around looking at our HR systems and how they might open up opportunity for people that have been justice involved versus closed doors. So we're looking to bring some of those kinds of improvements too as we implement the job description software and new systems. And then just to summarize, to give you a sense of kind of which buckets go where, these functions live in our general fund area, employee and labor relations, recruitment, our records and IRP administration. These process tens of thousands of records behind the scenes that are critical to our functionality and then feed out the critical management reports and data that our departments need to make their decisions. And then the compensation program. And then the functions that live within the fringe fund are benefits administration, learning and engagement, and our retirement administration. And I'll go back one because I know we have, so I know that there were 3 areas of focus that you wanted to hear us speak about as part of our presentation. And one related to the 2.4% increase in employee compensation and how that might impact overall budget allocations. You know, I'll say that my understanding is that number was derived from an economic forecast that was put out from U of M folks. And you know, just today, I think new numbers came out. So it's kind of a bit of a moving target, but I feel very confident in the 2.4 number. I know our comp team regularly, as they go through job analysis reviews, and as we post for positions, we always take the temperature on market to make sure that where we need to be in terms of compensation. So I'll say with the ongoing work of our comp team, I'm confident that our compensation system is very competitive position to market. Every now and then we find a position that might get a little bit off track, either because of market demand or it's a unique skill set or it's hard to fill. And then we can address that as we find them. But taken in total, I feel like this 2.4% coupled with our existing comp plan will keep us where we need to be on that. Questions about that one before I invite Melva to speak about the exciting work she's doing and training?
You have a question?
Mine is about more of what you were speaking to. So I just wondered, I don't know if I've ever asked this in all the years here, but do we do exit interviews of why people leave, and then do keep those statistics, and because then that would be a good way to judge, is it wages, is it the comp packs, compensation packages, or
so glad you asked that because we just our records team just launched that module within Workday, so we have better capacity.
Good.
We've always been doing them, but now we can really use that data differently and better. So we are able to ask the reasons for people leaving. We're able to quickly flag as well if there are reasons that need follow-up from Dan and his crew, because maybe that indicates something's not quite right in terms of how what's happening for us as an employer, but we can then tag if it's the money, if it's the, we've been hearing a lot, I get to work remote 100%.
Okay.
So yeah, we can start to track
Okay,
those.
that's good, because I think that's very important for government and businesses, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Commissioner Wiper.
And along the same lines, yesterday we had, I think it was IT,
Mhm.
and they had the issue on lateral, people coming over and say, well, I've got 5 weeks vacation sitting over there, if I start here, lateral, and I know I don't know how big of a chunk it would be, but that's a deterrent, right? Are you looking at that? I know you're gonna look at the benefits and say how our benefits might be better or competitive, but do you see that as something needs to be addressed?
There are very few things that I feel like we don't line up well on. I think that's one of them. And I think it does prove a challenge in recruitment, and especially when you're recruiting seasoned people or like.
Entry level, you're coming in
Yes.
and you don't have vacation sitting somewhere, but.
I hear you, and we will be looking more closely at that as part of the inclusive benefits work. And so coming soon to a theater near you, we probably will be addressing that. Also, our parental leave probably needs a closer look. So I think there are some things on the leave side, we have some opportunities around.
Right, and if there's some other better benefits, not exactly wages for being off, but, some pluses.
We're hearing more and more that really that time and flexibility is key. That's what people really crave.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Rahman, followed by Commissioner Smith Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I appreciate that you're gonna be benchmarking the benefits and comparing, how we stack up against the competition. In the same line with the vacancies and turnover, do we have the same ability to benchmark and kind of how we compare industry-wide within different departments?
Sure, I don't have it on hand, but if you're interested, I can certainly follow up with some more information.
Okay, just globally, do you know kind of where we stand? Are we, without any specific numbers? I mean, I don't wanna put you on the spot.
I
I'm
was
just
gonna say,
curious if
so
we're.
this is more of a observational than a data-driven response. My observation is that we don't have a big problem with turnover.
Okay.
But I would prefer to validate, I'm a little data person, so I would prefer to validate and really give you the numbers on that.
No problem, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that a commissioner? Commissioner Smith Charles.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning about the ATS. That's usually my sticking point because it does seem like a gatekeeper and easy to filter and not allow a full breadth of candidates to pass just the simplest of things. And so you mentioned that your operating expenses largely reflected that. Could you speak to that a little bit more and what's improved? What opportunities are still out there?
Yep, so we are just at implementation phase on the ATS. We look for full launch next month.
Yes, September 9th.
And so we're just completing the internal training that's going to be needed for the users of that system. But it's our hope that it will provide for the user, the applicant, a quicker, faster, more responsive experience, that it will be streamlined. And then from the department side, that they can more readily access information directly rather than have to have a pass-through. So just functionally in terms of process, we're hoping it's gonna speed things up a lot, but more importantly, user experience for our internal customer and our applicants, we think it's gonna take us to the next level in a very good way. And we're able to preserve some of the process protections that we've already built in to make sure that our applicant pool reflects the public that we serve and that we're not having people passed over for any reasons other than absolute job qualifications.
Right, and I hope that applies in terms of departmental leadership as well throughout the county. And then the piece that I do hear from feedback from applicants is that they don't hear anything. And I recognize that that's corporations across the globe, sometimes you don't hear back. But I feel like Oakland County can hold itself to a higher and much more professional standard, going beyond just the ghosting, and give some folks some insights and feedback. I mean, there's a lot of horror stories other commissioners have shared with me that maybe they'll talk about, maybe they won't, but I think we've got great people applying, and I just want to make sure that if they're not in the running or candidates to move forward, that we handle that in a way, because a lot of these people are high income earners and can take their talents anywhere. And so feedback loops like Glassdoor and things like that can get out ahead of you when you're looking for applicants to come in. So that's all I had on what you spoke about. Thank you.
Great feedback.
Commissioner Long, you had
I'm
more?
shaking my head because I heard from quite a few people that applied for different positions, and they're like, I didn't think Oakland County would not answer me, and they're well qualified. So I agree. I think we need to say, look, we looked at your application, but you're not in the running or something for the final interview or final phase, and send them something. Because I was kind of embarrassed actually, because this person's very highly educated and was very qualified, and she never heard back. So, and then they begin to think it's partisan, politics. So it looks bad, she's like, am I not getting it because I'm Republican? I don't put Republican, and I'm like, I don't know, So I think we should reach back to people, because then you begin, because it was something in the executive office, and then people begin to think it's party affiliated when you don't hear back at all and you're ghosted. So I agree with Yolanda on that. I think we should do a better job on that, just as of Oakland County, for our reputation. But I do also want to mention real quick on I have not looked in a while now since we do our checks, like directly in and everything, but they are still on there, everything. If you go on Workday, like what your benefits are worth, is that correct? Like your
So-
all your medical insurance, there's a value on that, every check, isn't there still?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
gonna put that with an asterisk because it's a little bit of a it's under construction now.
Okay.
Right now, we do reflect some of the cost and the value of the benefits that are afforded to employees.
Okay.
What we are committed to doing in the next year is to find a way to house what is needed for our budgeting purposes against what is an actual reflection of the value of benefit that an employee receives, because they're not always the same thing.
Okay.
And so once we find the right way to find a place for that data to live correctly, yes, my dream, a little dream, is that every year when an employee gets notification that they have gotten a pay increase, that they will also receive a shiny, lovely flyer that shows, thank you for your service, thank you for your service. Here's what you can expect next year, and here's the value of the benefits that we also provide in addition to that. That is my dream, a little dream, and I hope we can get there.
Well, I agree with you. I think that just that, because you could look at your salary and then you see how much your insurance was worth and you're like, oh, I mean, at least, especially for us commissioners, you know, I mean, when you're at lower pay scale, it's like, it makes a big difference. And so I do think that's good to show the employees, look, this is your salary, but this is what you're getting in all benefits all the time. So I like that feature. I'm going back to the old printed checks that was always on, see, so I don't go and work, I don't check it much now, so, you know, I shouldn't say that out loud. I might not even be getting paid anything, right? But, you know, I don't check it now, but I did like that on the printed checks. I think that's, cause it's so valuable, medical, you know, your healthcare insurance and all your other fringe benefits. So I do like that on there. So I'm glad to hear that you're looking, you know, that you an advocate for that. So thank you.
And it is on the Clicky Loo,
Yeah, the
So-
workday.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said, to keep, yeah, workday.
And I'll just, not to pile on, but I've heard from a number of people who have applied
Yeah.
that either they didn't get responded to or it was many, many, many weeks later.
And they get nervous after doing, because I think
Well,
that
yeah.
the process is long, I think they said, the application process. I don't know if we could speak, I don't know what, you know, exact position it was, but she said it took her a long time to do the application to
Just
never
fill
hear
it out.
back, you know, so. Sorry to interrupt you, but.
That's okay, no.
I'm along the same lines.
I was just piling on.
Well, it's my hope that next year we'll be sitting here and you'll say, we've heard that there's been a vast improvement in the turn time and in the communication around our recruitment and application process.
Good.
That's my hope.
Okay. And
Right.
So may I invite Melva to speak
Sure,
about
thank
our
you.
learning and engagement programming?
absolutely. So we have this group scheduled to 1:45, just in case you wanna pace yourselves.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So thank you for having me today. I think it's important for me to just let you know what we do overall in learning and engagement, because we really are focused on just supporting the employees here of Oakland County and ensuring that they have the resources and the training and the education they need to be successful, and just make sure that they're up to speed and competitive in this job market. So I'm just gonna put my glasses on to read off to you some of the things that we offer that I'm very proud of, and thank you, Heather, for kind of giving us a good intro. But first and foremost, we are really investing in our leadership. And what that means is that we have heard through surveys, through our evaluations, our training evaluations, and looking at some of the data. And we know that there are some leaders, like mid-level leaders, that we're missing and who have been here for a number of years. And so we really want to ensure that, you know, we tap them on the shoulders and let them know that we're here to support them, and however we can. So one of the things that we have done successfully is we have a Leadership Academy program. We just started our third cohort today. It was our first class. It's a 16-week program, which it's a partnership with Rochester Christian University, the deputies and some leaders through Oakland County, here at Oakland County, provide training to approximately 22 leaders in the course, and they cover the strategic goals. Also, what we're doing to invest in our leadership is that we work with them individually. Right now, we're working on an RFP to get them executive coaching. So our dream is to, at some point, for our high-level leaders, to partner with them with an executive coach so that they can be successful while they're here at the county. We also have implemented 2 other coaching programs. We have a career coach that's available to all employees. And this is, again, something that's been asked for a number of years. So not only do we have a career coach, but we're also working with employees to see how they can move through up and, you know, across in Oakland County. So we have been very cognizant of that being a need of employees here at the county. And then we also have team coaching. So our training Supervisor Lauren Farrell has been working. We get a lot of requests from leaders and departments to work with their teams on team building. We use DISC assessments, and so that's another way that we've been investing in our leadership by creating a partnership and working with them on strategic goals, individual performance plans and performance reviews, coaching them through the process of how they can be better leaders to their employees. So we have several leadership courses, and we're continuing to develop them as we get feedback from leaders, but so far it's been great. We also have about 17 general courses that we offer to all employees, spanning from interpersonal skills, management, social intelligence, collaborations. So you have a mixture of those skill sets. We have been trying new things, so I'm really excited to let you know that we have things, programming such as what we call a power hour. So it's a 1 hour micro learning that we've been giving to employees who just don't have the time to come to courses. So some of those that we have is called Managing Up, Emotional Intelligence. We even have one called What's Your Why, Anger Management. We also have our Leadership Mastery series, if you've never heard of that, but every month we have a leader that works here in the county offer a course, and that's been very successful, that so much so that we already are filling up in 2025. And so that's been a way that we can kind of spread the wealth and allow the knowledge that we already have here at the county with the leaders here to be able to have a face and presence in front of the employees and teach them and pass on that knowledge as well. We hired a justice coordinator who has been doing some investigation at our hiring practices and looking for ways that we could hire more justice impacted individuals and where we're missing the mark. And in addition to some of the findings and investigation that she's done, she's also going to be doing some training to leaders on bias training, interview training, and also she's going to be training our staff and working with our recruitment staff as well on how to properly screen individuals who may have a checkered past as well. We also have started offering virtual trainings. It's a work in progress, but so far we've had really good feedback, and we want to continue to do that so that we can be flexible to employees, particularly having a hybrid schedule. We put out a quarterly catalog. You're going to see more advertising with that using QR codes so that people can just scan it, download the catalog, and be able to register quickly within Workday. We have a very large e-learning catalog that the courses just span. It's like over 2,000 courses. We try to put out information each month on courses that we highlight that may speak to a particular occupation or theme for that particular month, so to encourage usage. But the great thing about the e-learning courses is that you can use it on your phone if you have the Workday app, and so it's very convenient for employees, and we love to call that like quick bites. So while you're waiting for a training, or if you just need to learn like grammar or something really quick, you can take the e-learning course. And we also, we do this monthly. Every month we offer at least 2 leadership courses, 2 general learning courses, and a power hour. And our new employee orientation, I was going to use the acronym NEO, has been successful still. So we capture 100% of our employees when they come in. They're within a new employee orientation within the first month or the next one, the following month. So we really get employees in and engaged immediately to learn about the county and learn what we offer them and how we can support them as well. And we have our internship cohorts that's been going very successful. They receive training as well, so we engage our future workers here at the county. So as all the departments who will bring on interns, we put them in a cohort, we give them tours throughout the county, and we also provide them with training and soft skill training. And hopefully they will want to return. Most say that they do, so we're here for them to support them in that. Of course, we have our apprenticeship program, which is also available for employees internally as well for those who want to upskill or reskill. That's a a resource that's available to employees as well. And then I wanna say, that might be it. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not it. We have our education assistants, which we are currently working on, which is a revamp of our Merit Rule 20, the tuition reimbursement policy, which will allow us greater flexibility to assist employees with their professional development and those who want to return to school by giving them more options in terms of either having an option to get reimbursed or get tuition advancement, as well as also paying for books, fees, and in addition to their tuition, where currently we just only pay for tuition. So we just want to remove some of those barriers so that they can stay competitive and so they need to upgrade their skills. And we also have the in-service funds for those who need to take a quick certification or a quick course that might be a 2 or 3 day course. We support all employees using that fund, which is called in-service. And I think that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for her? Yes, Commissioner Smith Charles.
I just wanted to ask if the DISC assessment is available to everyone or just certain levels of the organization?
It's available to everyone.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? I can honestly say I didn't know we had all those educational opportunities.
I didn't either.
So, yeah, very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think the third question that the board was interested in learning a little bit more about pertains to our Employee Assistance Program, or our EAP. So I just popped the snapshot from our benefits guide about our EAP here, because it really gives you a nice succinct listing of the types of supports and resources that are available through the EAP. Some people think it's just for mental health or emotional support. It's not. It is a full range of, they even have concierge service if you need help finding a daycare provider, help with elder care, a referral for legal consultation or financial work, those work-life kind of resources. It's just a soup to nuts list of phenomenal resources that are available through this program. Our highest utilization, though, is around the emotional well-being pieces. But as well, we do see a lot of activity around management consultations. So this is one thing that I know Dan and his group are able to help kind of bridge to our managers. So imagine you're having to face, a difficult situation within the workplace, or having a tough conversation with an employee, or even, making a tough call and having to, separate employment. It's tough on the manager side too. So the EAP, they can actually call and speak with someone to get kind of coached up and talk through just the emotional side. You get the management piece of, here are some tools and techniques to help you through that, but then the support as well, because it's a difficult thing. So that management consultation and support piece is really quite helpful. And the work life is kind of our third bucket of highest utilization, and that's around things like elder care, referrals for other needs that can help you balance your work life needs. We've had over 1,200 engagements in the last year with our EAP program. And the thing that I was really pleased to see in our last annual report from the EAP were the satisfaction levels. In all three kind of buckets of utilization, the satisfaction on people that have used it are at 92%, 95%, 97%. So people who engage with the EAP are really finding it incredibly helpful. I can say, on some of our darkest days, we find the EAP vital in helping to bring on-site support when our employees are faced with a traumatic event or any of those, really the worst days kind of thing. They show up quickly, they provide the support that is needed, and they're a deep bench for us in areas of expertise that we don't have on hand. So with that, I will gladly field any questions about the EAP or the Human Resources Department. I'd also encourage you, we, for the first time in a while, produced an annual report that is chock full of data, information, and more detail about what each functional unit does, what we've accomplished, and what we're looking to do going forward. So I'd encourage you to also take a look at our annual report.
Commissioner Long has a question.
So I like that on that EAP. I think I saw that we had that before, but my main question is, how are we letting all the employees know that this is available?
Yep.
I think one time I got an email or something. I kind of remember thinking, oh, I didn't know we offered that. I don't know if we got a newsletter or email. Do you guys remember? Do you remember seeing this or no? my fellow commissioners or no?
I have seen it.
Yeah, I just wonder how are we marketing this to the employees so they know, cause that's a lot of extra services that are good for people that, you know.
It is, and that's one thing, we can always do communication better. And so we do have ongoing benefit 101 and 201 programming where we walk employees through the full complement of benefits that are available to them, making sure that they understand what they have access to, and we include the EAP as part of that. I think we also handed out, Matt, yes, you wanna go?
So I was gonna say, we have, so this page is in the benefit guide, which is dispersed to all new employees,
Okay.
along with all employees during open enrollment,
Okay.
have access to
Read that.
this. Also, we try to get it into the Telegraph at least once a month to say, you know, remember that you have this benefit,
Okay.
that this is available to you. But, you know, yes, we recently did a mailer and it includes the EAP as well, so just
I
different,
think I saw it somewhere, but I didn't remember where I saw it, so.
we try to push it out, and then I know my team has also done some trainings. We try to partner with our wellness and engagement unit as well to push this out so that, you know, mental health is a big piece of wellness as well.
And so, is there any way to add any of that onto the workday or no? I mean, I don't go on Workday a lot, but I do more now. But it would be nice if there was some kind of thing for HR on Workdays, like, you know, like an extra little note, hey, this is available, and then you could click on it and then read all that. Because I gotta say, and the paper ones, when we're doing the re-enroll, I don't read all that stuff. You know, when it's time to do your insurance update every year, your re-enrollment. So if there is a way, I don't know on Workday, but I think a lot of people are I mean, that's what we use now, because we don't get the paper, you know, checks and stuff. But that might be a good place to put that, because you know, like when you're scrolling, you know, trying to get your 1099 or your W-2, is it W-2? Yeah, because I do the 4s too for the other, but W-2s, if there was like a little note, these services, or click this, I mean, if there was a way to add it, it might be a good way to get it out there, so.
I think it's definitely something we want to include in, you know, those total rewards statements that Heather
Okay.
was mentioning. So it'd be something I'd want to include there.
Okay.
We also have recently rolled out journeys within Workday. So both
to look.
managers and new employees go through journeys where, you know, it'll prompt them with
Okay.
different steps to be taken, and the EAP is included in that.
That's good, okay, good, thank you.
Commissioner Rahman.
Thank you. So just to recap, if somebody needed any of those services, the website and the phone number at the bottom is the best starting point?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
Is that the way to go?
Yes, that's correct. And this service is offered to all employees and their household members. So, you know, if someone has a grandma living with them or an aunt or an uncle, those services would be available to them as well. The EAP doesn't have record of names of employees. We self-report just based on the number, a head count.
So you don't have to be a dependent enrolled in our benefits. If any member of your household
I
can
see.
benefit from this.
I will say that as a department head, I have a stack, there's a little flyer, I have a stack in my office, there's a stack in the lunchroom, we have stuff on our bulletin boards, so they're everywhere, and as supervisors, if I have an employee that's struggling, I might go leave it on their desk, or, you know, just have a quick conversation and make sure that they have the information. We have lots of little pieces with cards with the phone numbers on it, and, you know, it's not just they have to go on the computer to get it. It's available in a lot of inconspicuous places around the office.
Commissioner Gershenson.
Yeah, I have to say, the development over the years of HR, and it's really impressive how you're showing how we care about our employees. That was a big message that we wanted to get through, and I love this leadership development. I know we're working hard on it too, and on the Board of Commissioners. And I feel that you're hearing our problems. You knew we were having a tremendous issue with applications, and I do feel you're addressing it and will continue to address it. And I love the idea of the coaches. That's, other industries are doing that. We're now joining the rest of the county and trying to attract strong applicants. So I think you've really done a lot to really broaden the scope of HR. We appreciate it.
Check out our annual report.
A question from Commissioner Smith Charles.
Thanks, Chair. I just happened to notice that in some of your columns, maybe Cheryl is the person for this, but
Page number, so she'll know.
199.
In the middle,
Middle of day.
And I'm just curious how your costs are so low as it relates to printing, for example. For you to be a human resources department, I commend you for it. I'm just curious about it. And then, for example, workshops and meetings, that line item is only $1,000. Is that captured somewhere else? Because it sounds like you do want to do training.
So we've tried to pull a lot of our printing together and house it, rather than have each individual unit mess with its own printing, because we have an engagement team now that's really able to help us kind of raise the bar on how we communicate and what our communications look like, feel like, and how they go. We kind of run all of the printing through more centralized now. So rather than piece it out into each unit, you'll see it compiled into one place. And I don't have the big book in front of me, but you'll see a bigger number in one place. And then the workshops piece is probably for our HR workshops.
Okay.
The workshops that Melva and her team are doing through learning and engagement, or even the recruitment efforts around job fairs and those types of things, are gonna be much larger numbers within their specific unit.
Thank you. And then as Commissioner Gershon was saying, thank you also on behalf of Parks, because we didn't hear any complaints about bottlenecks in getting seasonal workers.
Yeah,
Right.
it was good.
So,
This year.
again, thank you all.
Yeah, it was much better.
Always. Well, if nobody has any other questions, I think that's it for Human Resources. Thanks so much for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
I guess I should have asked Fiscal if they had any comments or anything. You think we're good?
Yeah.
I wrote no follow-up.
Yolanda said too late.
All right, I'm gonna close this one out.
I resisted, but like,
Hot tart.
I know, it's like, I can't go.
Let's go.
There might be, want me to go find one?
Okay, we're gonna come back to the meeting and we're going to leap right into the Office of the County Executive.
I don't want like.
And it is on page 40 in the categorical and
Yeah.
165 in the budget book.
So appreciate you doing that.
Yes, love it.
For those that don't meet, April Lynch, Deputy County Executive. This budget is, administration budget for executive is fairly large with a lot of little divisions in it. So throughout the next couple of days, you'll be hearing from Corporation Counsel, some other folks as well that are housed under administration. But again, we're really doing the best that we can to kind of create divisions so that we can all track our own funds, we can track our own successes and things of that nature. So you're actually gonna only hear from me for about 5 minutes, maybe 3 if you want it that way. And then mostly Harry and Aaron today, they have a more robust budget because what I have left really for you is the leftovers, the most miscellaneous, I guess, I don't know, it's kind of weird. So the budget that I have before you is what includes is the Deputy County Executive, all of us as deputies, our support team, as well as Performance Management, Office of Strategic Initiatives and Compliance. And Performance Management and Strategic Initiatives at the next budget will also become their own division, still under the administration, but will be separated. So I don't know, am I moving this or is?
The clicker should be right there.
Oh, okay, sorry. So you can see here, our budget has been pretty consistent except for this one blip in 21 and 22. You can see the downward trend is when the Department of Public Communications moved out of our budget into their own department, so that's the big drop. But for the rest of it, we are pretty level. Again, some of the in and outs would be some additions to sustainability, to Harry's office, performance management and strategic initiatives.
So can I ask you on that one, there's a spike there in 2021 and it drops off in 22 and 23. Is that COVID related?
No, that's the Department of Public Communications was heightened in 21 and then moved into their, I believe, into their own department in 22. 23.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I heard you say that, I didn't connect it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yes, Commissioner.
This is the county executives portion of our hearing. I just thought, can someone say why Dave Coulter is not here today?
Typically, us as a deputy have handled the budget. It's just the funds where we're housed,
Yeah, I don't know.
where our positions are housed.
Okay, I thought I'd seen him in past years, but thank you.
Usually does the big budget overview.
Yeah.
He
I don't
did.
think,
We take the little pieces.
We love to see him.
Okay. Same thing with expenditures, they've been really consistent, up and down fluctuations just based on, again, the in and out of trying to manage some new programs and things of that nature, so I'm not sure if there's any particular questions there. These positions, again, are part of, again, that I mentioned, the executive's office, which includes the executive, all of us deputies, our support teams. This also includes performance management and Office of Strategic Initiatives, and we have compliance in here as well. So you'll notice that the numbers will start to go down in 25 because, again, we're really focused on administration here, but strategic initiatives and performance management will be created as their own division. Again, still under the big umbrella. But we'll be able to pull those out so you can see more of what we're doing in each of those programs. We've already mentioned who's in this budget. And then again, our focus areas, we're moving performance management, again, fine tuning our OakStat program. That program is the one that helps us manage our KPIs, our key performance indicators, as well as our strategic plan. And then Office of Strategic Initiatives is the grant with Sarah Gold. She's been really spending a lot of her time trying to understand, how our grant process works. She's building relationships with philanthropic partners and, working through how all of those kind of work together as a system for Oakland County. So more to come. She's worked really hard this last year to really understand how all that works. So as we move into next year, I'm sure she'll have a lot more to report for next year.
So on that subject of figuring out how we can capture more grants and do it, is there a cost benefit that what I've seen over the years from more than one department is they're out there pulling in all these grants and then the maybe it's a $50,000 grant or $75,000 grant. It's not big money. And we end up spending money to spend the money, right? So as part of this Office of Strategic Initiatives, is that an evaluation point that we're gonna look at where yeah, it's great to be pulling down these grants, but we really only wanna pull down the ones that really benefit us, and we don't wanna spend a lot of time and people spinning our wheels that way.
Yeah, she's working with all of our teams, in particular even with finance as well in the grants division and finance to really understand how the system itself works, because the system itself is causing issues for us to even get some of the grants that we want. But part of it too is, to what you said, we're even finding that we're not asking for enough administrative support. And if we are, it's not going to finance or to other places to help support the grant process. So she's looking at all of that as a whole to maybe look at how the system works in totality with finance, with the departments to better meet their needs so that we can make sure that we are maximizing the efforts as well as making sure that we're not drowning in so much grant administration without actually having the support to do that. So, yeah.
I will say that I think this is a big improvement because, 4 or 5 years ago, when we were starting to try to figure out how to bring in money to do some of the things, we at the Board of Commissioners talked a lot about whether we wanted to create a grant writing group over here. And we ultimately decided not to because, administration really felt like they were better equipped to do that. And by doing that, we're starting, I think, to unearth some of this crosstalk that's happening and it probably is in the right place and it feels to me like it's an improvement, but I don't know.
There's a lot of activity.
Brian's raising his hand.
Yeah, if I may. So we did sit down with Sarah Gold about that process and procedures. The other thing that we were also looking for is the runway of when our grants normally are secured or requested by the departments. For example, the sheriff office or DHHS, they all have this cadence. A lot of times it runs around the state budget process or they're just normal grants. So one of the things that we're looking at is how does it fit into your cycle of coming to the appropriate committee to get approval to go to the board, so we can eliminate exceptions that are coming through your process. I mean, it's down to that level of detail. And then the other thing that I've always wanted to make sure is that if there is a grant, what is the match? The match has to be provided to you so that you see that there is going to be, what is that, are we spending $1 to get 10 cents back or 50 cents back? But at least you can say, what's our time worth for all of these grants? So it's that comprehensive that we're trying to look at. And then also to the administration. I mean, one of the things is that a lot of grants have a 10% administration fee. Well, where is that administration fee? Is it coming to fiscal? Because essentially fiscal is really monitoring all these grants. We've got experts that to make sure we comply, because if we don't comply, it becomes a finding under the single audit, especially on the federal side. So something that we are definitely looking at.
One more thing to add to that too, we've also brought on a lot of staff, like Erin is a classic example of who is really researching and finding a lot more grant opportunities. So the activity itself has actually gotten much greater than even before. So Sarah's been a great addition to our team and really amazing things that are gonna be happening that we can continue to maximize our use of grant applications.
I'm glad to hear it.
Like I said, mine was just a few people, so if you don't have any more questions, I'm gonna give it to Harry and Erin. You guys can hear more about that. Any other questions? No. Okay. Harry, Steve is up. I'm gonna look up on the screen.
Commissioner Rahman, while we're.
No, she was saying Charlie might have a question.
Oh, Charlie.
Yeah, I saw something in the
Sorry,
chat.
Charlie, I didn't.
Sorry, Charlie.
See the people?
Yeah. I'm showing my age, just sorry,
Charlie, did you have a question?
Sorry, Charlie.
Good looking out, Angie. Thank you for that. And again, not to belabor the point, but to what Chair Gwen was saying about what Sarah's doing. First, I wanted to just say, working with Sarah and talking with Sarah has been fantastic. And I just want to lift up the hope from what Brian said and perhaps this will come out in your more like fully baked out report that you guys are in process of, but because I think you kind of touched on it, Brian, but the difference between formula grants and competitive grants, because I don't know what the desire is, but my understanding of what Sarah should be doing and her team should be doing is spending more time making the difference applying for a competitive grant rather than like helping the sheriff office apply for the annual Marine Safety Patrol grant or the Bulletproof Vest grant, because that's a formula grant that Gaia just has and Katie West just has like in their folder somewhere, where Sarah's time I think would be better spent like asking the Kresge Foundation for money for XYZ project in terms of like new dollars and expanding projects, as opposed to, again, like formula grants from state and federal agencies. I don't know if it is respond to that or if the right people are there to respond to that. Please lifting that up.
Thank you for that comment, Commissioner Cavell. Did you want to add anything to it, or it's just a comment to take back? Okay. All right.
With that, I'm gonna turn over to the DEI office, if you guys wanna come on.
Sure. Pardon me.
Make room for
Yeah, make
him
it
at the end of the
sure.
table.
I guess we could move that one to the end here. That's what I was gonna say, move some chairs.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be before you again. We have, since the last time I was in front of you to do this, we have done quite a bit of work, some of which I'll be able to touch on. As you can see, our budget numbers here for this year, everything is pretty even. A little bit of a disparity here in terms of the amended versus the actuals for 24, and a projection to be kind of back in that even territory in 25.
Why is that?
Yeah, and what was the cost, the difference, it's like 300,000.
So the reasoning for the jump in FY '24 is the officer position along with the executive secretary. As April had alluded to, these were previously housed in the administration division.
Okay.
So they were moved out of administration and into the DEI division. So that's why you're seeing those costs.
Amended.
Exactly. The amended in particular, the reason why that one is higher than the adopted is actually a carry forward of a budget. So as we created the DEI office and we were able to start planning, we wanted to really set them up for success and have them have that budget available to put on some of the great programs that they're putting on.
That was far more concise than anything I would have been.
Yeah, that was good, thank you.
Well, and it's actually very forward thinking. I mean, so often, people are coming and scrambling and saying, oh, we're gonna need this or we're gonna need that, when you've thought it through and laid it in here in an in a timely way.
And if I may, I'm sorry, I want to introduce Brett Straub. He is the budget analyst for this particular area. As we talked about, you'll see a lot of the budget analysts kind of coming in and out when they're here for their departments, and clearly they're instrumental in helping us put all the information together and help the departments understand what all the numbers mean. So that's Brett from,
Yes.
I'll
Thank you for
introduce the
that.
other ones the next time we get to them.
Thank you.
My clicker seems not to be working.
I also wanted to acknowledge Haley.
Right. HR and, yeah.
Sure.
Yes, Commissioner Rama.
So with these changes from department to department, are we net neutral at the end of the day? Or, I mean,
Yes.
it's left and right pocket, I get that. I just don't know if there's actual number of changes as well overall.
So for instance, moving those positions, those are gonna be a truly net neutral change. It all rolls up to the county exec administrative department. So you wouldn't actually see if your total salary number was 100,000,
Sure.
your total salary number would still remain 100,000.
Perfect.
How we divide that pie.
Right, it doesn't really matter, I was just curious whether numbers are actually moving up or down overall.
Yep, and you'll see, in the 25 budget, we're doing some corrections, moving some stuff to make sure that, Harry might have had some office supplies over here that we may move to DEI. We're trying to true that up as we go along. We don't know the full need until we start seeing those actuals. So it all is within the same department, so they are.
Without jumping too far ahead, I know Aaron's following, the same thing is true, I think, with fringes and staff as it relates to sustainability, so it's the same concept, I'm assuming?
I would say let's hold that thought for sustainability. They have a little bit more of a complex situation based off how they were created and housed, but we'll get into that momentarily.
Thanks.
Let's see, all right, so here we have the adopted budget, department expenditures. And again, you'll see here we're pretty even with a little bit of variation in the columns here on the ends. With that, with those variations, and Brent, can you give us some insight on those as well, just the.
Yep, so the personnel costs, forgive me one moment. The personnel costs, again, this is just Harry and the executive assistant coming in, and then you're seeing in 25 that 2.4% increase. There are only, I believe, 4 people within the DEI division, so any kind of percentage change or percentage increase is going to look a lot bigger than it actually is. Operating expenses haven't changed since we've created the division, and then internal support, specifically in FY25, you are seeing ISF changes, so internal service funds. Those are redone every year, things like paying for your building space, your insurance, those are all based off a certain percentage, so they are seeing a small increase there.
All right, there we go. All right, so in 23, we did have a vacant position that was vacant when I started in 22. And we were able to finally fill that position with our DEI coordinator position, which was filled just recently. Michael Barconi's been with us for just over a month now. So we've finally been able to fill that. So this is where you see that vacancy under FY24, but it's no longer vacant. And why you see no vacancies here in FY 2025. We do not necessarily anticipate needing another member just yet. However, that is fluid. We get a lot of work, and so we may at some point need to revisit that. But at this point, we don't foresee ourselves needing to expand in that way. All right, so here's our structure. I am the Chief Diversity Officer. Tiffany Brown is my Executive Secretary. Jennifer Persons, HR Senior Analyst. But I want to amend that a little bit. She acts as our training coordinator and heads up all of our training, as well as training design. And then J. Michael Barconi, who I mentioned, is also our DEI coordinator. So just the office overview, our office is dedicated to fostering an inclusive environment where every individual feels valued and empowered. Our office serves as a beacon for DEI standards, striving to integrate these principles deeply within the fabric of our organizational culture and operations. I want to use this particular piece to answer your question with regard to how this budget allows us to continue our DEI initiatives. So I didn't intend to speak about this, but yesterday I did a full day training with our equalization department. One of the great things about having such a training capacity in our DEI office is that it saves us person hours in terms of having to contract out training for departments that need things that are necessary for their licensure. So the piece that we did for equalization yesterday, for instance, is part of a it's not necessarily a licensure piece. However, what they do know is that there are requirements coming down the pipe for real estate agents and departments like equalization having to have DEI training and needing 4 hours per year or 4 hours every other year, whatever the number may be. And to be able to provide that inside without having to call someone and say, hey, we need somebody who's certified so we can apply for CEUs and all of that. We have that right here in-house. So the training that was given yesterday, they got CEUs, they got everything to apply toward the certifications that they'll need, moving forward. Same thing with Children's Village. Children's Village has to have state certification annually. Part of that state certification is them having X amount of hours every year on DEI. And so we do that in-house. Because anytime we have something in-house, we want to make sure that it's meeting the standards for that certification and meeting our standards in terms of training and education. Additionally, freeing up those person hours allows us to use those funds that we don't have to use to bring someone in for certification purposes to allocate toward outside trainers, which is what we use for our now pretty robust training program. In March, we rolled out a catalog of DEI trainings that are available to everyone in the county. The schedule rolls out monthly. We have things like intro to DEI, difficult conversations, a number of trainings that are DEI related. And we brought on a new cadre of trainers to facilitate those. And so again, freeing up those person hours allows us to bring those vendors on and allow them to do what a 4-person team doesn't necessarily have the bandwidth to do in terms of offering training to an entire organization. So our vision, again, is to be a trusted resource and standard bearer for DEI in Oakland County. So again, in terms of, we're speaking in these terms of being a provider for the county in general. So in terms of partnerships, which is one of the questions you asked as well, one of the things that we are really excited about getting going is being a resource for CBTs who do not have the expertise or bandwidth to have DEI training done for their staffs. So I was just speaking about our contract trainers. So when we put together a training, whether we fill it with 35 people from the county or 5 people from the county, the cost to us is the same. So now what we're looking to do moving forward is offer these trainings to people in CBTs, leadership in CBTs, to say, hey, we've got some empty slots in our difficult conversations training. We've got some empty slots in our DEI and leadership training. You can come and, fill these slots. And that way, we're a partner to our CBTs and strengthening their municipalities in that way, while also fulfilling one of our goals here at the county to be that hub or that resource for that sort of enrichment.
I'll stop you there just for a second.
Sure.
I know I had a gentleman, I think it was Juneteenth this year, from Farmington Schools who wanted to know about our DEI office and what was available to talk to them about their initiatives. And Farmington schools have had some issues relatively recently on this topic. So my question is, are we talking to school districts as well as CBTs?
We are not CBTs at this point. So
But if you got a request from a school district, would you be open to it?
What I would want to have a conversation with Oakland Schools, because they have their own DEI department. The gentleman who leads that department is a colleague of mine in another space. So I would speak with them to see what kind of partnerships they might be envisioning. The things we do are less geared toward education. So anything that Oakland Schools would need would be relatively nuanced in a way that ours would not be.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gershenson?
So when we created this position, we all heard from all our CBTs. Everyone wanted in on it. So good luck trying to select and how you're gonna manage 1 or 2 spots in a program to be spread out fairly throughout the county.
To be honest, it'll be more than 1 or 2 spots, and what will likely end up happening once this is up and running at the capacity we eventually see it happening is we'll be bringing in the vendors to do do trainings more often.
Good.
And so at that point, there'll be a cost per head model for CBTs to say, hey, we can do it at our cost per person hour as opposed to you having to pay, $4,000 to have your 4 people go, right?
Commissioner Rahman had a question.
And I think you touched on this. Is there currently a cost to the CBTs then? To come and
Currently, no,
participate, or-
because the cost is already front loaded. We've already, like I said, whether we have 5 people or 30 people, it costs us $2,000 that we've already invested in that vendor.
Okay.
But when there comes a time where the capacity that Commissioner Gershon is speaking about, when the time comes where CBTs are reaching out like, hey, we probably need a whole class to ourselves. I got 30 or 20 people I can bring.
Sure.
then we say, well, we need, whatever that cost is per head.
One fiscal comment on that, we are already looking at how we get this charged back essentially to CBT, so that is part of our plan with DEI to work with them on that. One other thing I'll note is I do know we do see a little bit of revenue already coming in. We did have one successful event that came through, we did see a small amount of money come in. We're hoping to see, is that gonna be on an annual cadence, is that gonna be on a monthly cadence, how that functions, so as this starts getting built out, you'll start seeing the revenue come in as well.
Are we advertising this currently to the CBTs, or I don't know how aggressive we are?
No, there's not an advertising campaign yet because we're not ready for the flood. So we're having some conversations. There will be some kind of discrete invitations that'll go out as almost a test run. And then as we get this going, and as we're able to also have discussions about the capacity our vendors have, then we can kind of open the floodgate, so to speak. Yeah. Were there any other questions on that?
Doesn't look like it. Oh, wait, Commissioner Smith Charles, did you wanna ask? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, again, appreciate the narratives, but I wanted to ask about the operating expenses though, where you might have mentioned it and I may have glazed over. Talk about, it looks like $297,000 was the adopted budget, I'm on 171. And then the amended is 522, and then the next fiscal year 25 and 26 are both at 297, which is what it was adopted to be. So I'm just curious, what's caused the increase in, for example, special event program, which kind of lines up to your next slide, Harry, about the look aheads and what have you. But I'm just curious because I'd hate to see us approving something that's already, significantly lower. It's almost 50%.
Yep, so great.
You wanna take that or you want me to take that?
Go for it.
So remember yesterday when we talked about the carry forwards? Usually in all of these instances where you see a stable budget, a bump, and then it back to the normal level, it's a carry forward from the prior year. Specifically in DEI, it was a little slower to get started, so we had the money budgeted, it didn't get used, so we rolled it forward so that they were still able to do the training and the things that they needed to do to get the program up and running. So with that budget, even though it was in, I think it was 22, you see we forwarded it to 23, put that in the amended so that they could continue to use those dollars to get their program up and running. And now that it's up and running, we're back to the normal level. So pretty much in every case that you're gonna see that kind of cadence with a jump like that, it has to do with the carry forward.
Thank you. And like the transfer outs, what's an example of a transfer out?
So the transfer out specifically here is for some work that was being done in the executive office. So there was a bit of funding that was available actually in that carry forward that we were not anticipating needing to use. So it was reallocated in order to assist in some of these other projects that were happening in the executive office. I'm more than happy to get you the details on that if you
No, that's sufficient. I just like, when we adopt budgets and then, it has to go for an amendment, just trying to make sure we're being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars.
And if I can add a little context from the non-dollar sign side. So when I got here, although the position had been established, there were a lot of things that had not been developed in terms of programming. So when you see that see that carryover, it's exactly what was just mentioned in terms of those things that were in process or even in foundational stages of getting prepared and establishing programming. That is where those dollars were necessary. Even so much as the budgeting for an additional position. Again, that was here when I got here. I just didn't know what that position needed to look like, and I needed some time to examine that, and so we're just now filling that. So just as an example. Our mission to ensure all aspects of county policy and operations are examined and seen through an equity lens. Our values here, integrity, empowerment, accessibility, inclusivity, engagement, communication, accountability, integration. 2024 highlights, our new DEI training program, which I touched on. We've gotten really, really great reviews about one of our training vendors in particular. All of them are doing well, but there's one in particular who's doing a great job, and we'll make sure that we try to get them some more work because they seem to be really effective. Our employee resource group program planning and implementation is in process. So I want to talk just a bit about employee resource groups. This was a space where on a number of things in my time at the county, we've been able to get to a space where we're kind of on the cutting edge of things and ahead in a number of ways. Employee resource groups is not one of them. It was one of the spaces where we were behind the curve. Most corporate entities have what consider employee resource groups in some form or fashion. And that is something that we were looking to establish in the county. Just a brief kind of definition of what employee resource groups are for those that are not familiar. It's for groups of employees who have some sort of commonality that may want to address problems or issues that they have in a particular workspace. So we would have a group for Black employees, a group for LGBTQ employees, we have a multicultural group, a veterans group, a disabled employees group, a women's group. So kind of these affinity groups who bring their, kind of have a caucus to bring their own concerns to bring about whatever changes they may see necessary in the county, right? And so as we're doing that, those things require not only funds, but they also require some pretty intense and nuanced expertise to do it for a government entity. So we've been working pretty hard on that. We're working in conjunction with Corporate Counsel to make sure everything is clear on the legal side. Fiscal has been great to make sure everything is clear on the money side. And so we are set to officially kick off programming October 1. So you'll see those groups kind of popping up, and you'll see literature about them, you'll see programming that they're doing throughout the year, so on and so forth. So that has what's been taking quite a bit of energy over the last few months. Because again, while we're ahead of the curve in a lot of ways in our DEI programming, again, that was one that was not. And so I wanted to make sure that we kind of were caught up in that way, so to speak. 2024 dates include our MLK Day of Service, our Women's Equity Panel discussion, our Juneteenth event, our Gather with Pride event, which was our Pride Month event that was held here on campus, which was great. I want to touch on diverse connections. So that's the piece that Brent brought up that brought in a little bit of money to the department, but that was not necessarily the onus of the event. So Diverse Connections was our first diversity event for vendors. So one of our goals when I first got here was to make sure that we were making it possible for us to have diversity amongst our vendor pool for contractors for the county, whether it be people supplying paper goods or doing construction bids, whatever the case might be. And so we didn't find that people were necessarily having a problem getting to the county and getting to the application process. There were some other kind of nuanced things that were keeping smaller businesses out. Things like insurance requirements, or sometimes not even knowing about bids until it was too late. So this Diverse Connections fair is something that we did in conjunction with economic development, and everyone gathered their kind of diverse vendor list, and we invited everybody that we could think of. Expected maybe 100 or so people to turn out, and we easily had 200 people come through that event that day. We got nothing but positive feedback. So now we're trying to decide what the cadence is going to look like after Scott Guzzi's retirement. Once we have his position filled, we'll be able to have some more thorough conversation about how that piece is going to move forward. But it certainly is something we plan to make a permanent part of what we do in the county.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to go real quickly through the final slide.
I absolutely will. I'll just hit the bold points for our goals here. Establish and strengthen community engagement, develop and provide sponsor countywide DEI employee engagement activities and events. So a lot of that will fall on our ERG programming, creating comprehensive DEI curriculum, continuing that. So that's the piece I talked about that was already rolled out. And finally establish and implement our ERGs, which I also spoke about.
Okay,
And I think that's it. Thank you.
thank you. Does anybody have any more questions for Mr. Weaver? Commissioner
Just a quick
Christensen.
comment that that piece you said about getting the job information out to a diverse pool
Certainly.
has been an ongoing issue amongst commissioners for many, many years.
Certainly.
So I'm glad to hear that you're addressing that.
Thank you. Thank you. But if nobody else has any questions, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Charlie has one real quick.
Oh, Charlie.
Yes.
Yeah, hey, sorry. Hey, Harry, just about the procurement and all that. I was under the impression that we were adding a position to either DEI or procurement to make sure that that was an ongoing thing. In your presentation, it doesn't look like it was added to you.
That will not
What happens?
DEI office. Yeah, that will not fall under my office. Any position that's added in that capacity will be under the procurement office, and obviously will work closely with my office. I did sit in on some interviews. That's probably a sidebar conversation. I don't know if we've got time for it here.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Emailing, and let's talk on the phone.
Sounds good. Thank you. Or call.
All right. Next up, we have the Office of Sustainability.
Hello, thank you.
He's making me talk about it.
I will try to go over it quickly to stay on time. So what you see here is what we have for a shorter period of time. The influx that you see on the FY23, the $1 million that came in through the MEDC as an enhancement grant, that I think still isn't necessarily being accounted for correctly. So I preface that to say that I'm working very closely with the fiscal team in the comprehensive sustainability budget. Previously, my budget was underneath facilities, and now it is going to be moving officially into the county executive, even though my personal salary was under the county executive, but all of my staff, all of my programs and everything was under facilities. So that's why this presentation is a little bit strange, and why Brent said, why don't we just hold on to kind of feel through what's going on here. So that's why it looks a little odd right there. Which is reflected here as well. I was able to finally hire the folks that I had. Previously, I think it was last year, I had one full-time staff member and then I had 2 PT&E. After conversations, we were able to amend it and move those 2 part-time employees into a full-time employee. And so now I have 2 full-time staff members. Which is my small little figure here. Nothing really much to say about that.
But that doesn't include you.
It does not include me on this right here, but it will because I'm moving everything over to county executive. So next year will make a lot more sense and look a lot cleaner together. The other thing is I have a little bit more nuance of what my department actually is developing into. And so I put this together. It is not real in space, whereas it is with what we have for our hierarchy, and it may change in the future as well. I have my direct reports and then I have my supportive reports. I will say though, I'm so embarrassed I didn't include Tiffany on this slide, and I realized it today in our meeting because Tiffany serves Harry and myself as an executive secretary, so I sincerely apologize for not having you on it. So you see, yep, here. I have a perfect spot.
That was a good one.
But I wanted to elevate, so my 2 full-time staff members is Julia Ansbricker. You've met her before. She actually started while I was still on parental leave. And then Kelly Humes is someone I hired this year. But I also have an AmeriCorps member through the Climate Corps program. That is Nicole Card. She's with us until November. Fingers crossed that we can continue that AmeriCorps program. It is in this budget that I have presented for this coming fiscal year, I did include the AmeriCorps members in that. This year, we were able to fund it as an internship, so graciously through the HR department to help with that, to make sure that we were able to maximize this. So this is the inaugural Climate Corps program. It's the first cohort of them, and hopefully we'll get selected as a host again. I also had the opportunity from HR to reach out to me to see if I would be interested in having someone through the diversity Disabilities Program joined my team. The individual, Greg Gamina, he is really passionate about sustainability, and so we went through the process, and so he is part of my team, again though, funded through the Disabilities Program, which is technically in HR. So that's a sustainability team today. And what Greg is working on specifically is entering all of our utility bills into Energy Portfolio Manager, which is a free software through the EPA Energy Star program to help us keep track of our buildings for energy efficiency, energy upgrades, and really track on how we're performing for our facilities. We know that we have a building management system that we're working on facilities. They may talk about it in their hearing for upgrades that they're doing. It is related to our capital, but this is a free tool for us to kind of keep track of those easy wins for energy efficiency. So you've seen this before. It was part of the annual report I provided to the board earlier this year. It has our vision and it has our guiding principles. I don't need to read through it, but I just wanted to add it into the slide deck so that you could reference it. Again, though, I really want to show and maybe lean into the guiding principles. In sustainability, I always put people and equity centered on top and first, because if I truly believe that if we're not serving our people, we're not being good public servants, and it's really important and really critical in that tie with sustainability to serve our people equitably. So I always have that, and our first guiding principle is operationalizing diversity, equity, and inclusion. I did also want to bring this. I'm very proud of this slide because as we're looking at how to develop the sustainability division and budget, our Office of Sustainability, I wanted to show how much we were able to leverage and bring in and use for sustainability in the county. So I was hired in October of 2021. What this slide reflects is all of the grant funding through various means, and also the in-kind opportunities that we've been able to take advantage of. I've divided up this chart to show state allocation, so that's $1 million that reflected on the first slide that I provided. That is for an enhancement grant for electric vehicle infrastructure to be utilized on our properties. You'll then see a section for competitive grants. These are the grants that we had to develop an application for, and it was a competitive process to receive. I did want to note too that on that, to elevate what Commissioner Cavell said as well about the relationship with Sarah Gold and everything that we are trying to do in grants, there is a very different landscape when you are asking for the formula funds, which are essentially guaranteed to you, versus going through a competitive process. And Sarah has been instrumental in helping us really identify the different funding opportunities and support us in being developing those applications for these competitive process. And coming soon, you'll see 2 competitive grants that we're going to be bringing through the ED&I and full BOC for approval to apply for, recommended approval to apply for. So underneath the competitive, we have some smaller level Region 10 MEDC grants that we were able to leverage for the EV planning and evaluation for the region. That was a partnership between Macomb, Wayne, and Oakland, as well as the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, on identifying ways that we can advance EV infrastructure throughout the Tri-County area. And then the MDNR forestry grant we were able to leverage about a year and a half ago to help support the trees. I'm sure you saw a lot of trees being planted on campus. That $15,000 helped in with Mark Baldwin and his team. And then we just received information, I don't even have the official grant award yet, but we received information that we received $100,000 from Eagle through a community energy management program, and that is going to be used to offset and support some of the costs associated with our energy management plan that we have finalizing the RFP that we put out for. The last 2 are formula. So we had I counted ARPA as formula because us as a county received ARPA as a formula, so I included that, the $5 billion that you all graciously approved for the Oakland Saves program, and then the EECBG, which is the Energy Efficiency Community Block Grant, which is about $434,000. That too is going to be utilized for our energy management plan that we're doing in the study on campus. And then the program support, I didn't really know where to put this one for SEMCOG. We've received $50,000 to help support the EV regional planning efforts. it wasn't necessarily an application, it was through kind of collaborative conversations, and they said, yes, of course, this is something we're invested in, and so we will provide $50,000 for that. And then finally, the two kind of in-kind services we were able to leverage. We were a Lead for Cities. Coming soon, you'll know that we are a LEED Gold community. We went through the LEED Cities and Communities certification process and were awarded LEED Gold, which is a big deal.
Yeah,
So more to come on that.
We certainly weren't there 5 years ago.
No,
This is awesome.
no, you hear it first. We'll have a little bit more press around it, but I wanted to take this opportunity to elevate that. We received a membership through that. We received all of the fees waived for that certification process. And then the last one is through the DOE, the NREL or National Renewable Energy Laboratory, we received two different programs. We received 60 hours, which is about a $9,000 value, to help develop this clean energy for community zero emissions roadmap. That is specifically to help. It was kind of like the pre-work to the energy study and plan that we're going to be going on. And then we also received another 20 hours to support us in evaluating the Pontiac redevelopment site for potential energy savings opportunities on the onset. So those are just some other in-kind opportunities that we were able to bring in. As a reminder, our goals are to reach net zero for county operations by 2050 and to reduce our emissions in an interim goal of 50% by 2035. We have that energy procurement that is starting in 26, which reduces our emissions by 40%. And so we have 10% that we need to get between 2026 and 2035. So we're hustling to meet those greenhouse gas reduction goals. This was also reflected in the report that I had provided to the board earlier this year, just kind of an overview of the priorities for the Office of Sustainability for 2024. We have the greenhouse gas reduction, community engagement, Pontiac redevelopment, materials management, and then internal policies and procedures and a variety of things underneath that. And then finally, pardon me, as a look ahead, very similar to what you saw in the previous slide, but I really wanted to focus in on these three specific areas. Greenhouse gas reductions, including the building decarbonization and energy efficiency through the planning that we're doing, through the capital that we're going through for facilities and the partnership with them. That energy study, advancing our EV infrastructure. If you notice, Commissioner Markham, the charger is now in the lot over there.
I didn't, but I saw Todd Burkle down at the cafeteria and he said, have you seen it?
Check
And
it
I'm
out.
between groups, I wanna go out and plug my car.
Yes, there's a car plugged in right now, and there was a car plugged in yesterday, so. Still more to come, but that is officially the first one that we were able to deploy, so that's very exciting.
Actually, Marcia gets the credit. She's been asking since like
A long time.
ago.
Good. Well, more to come now, especially with the various grant funding that we have and the planning that we're doing here on campus. We did have a lot of fits and starts, and certainly the Pontiac redevelopment put another little wrinkle in that. But I think that we're at a good pace in understanding what we can do for EV infrastructure. And then finally, on the greenhouse gas reduction, is that as a reminder, with the campus sustainability plan that we did a baseline inventory based on 2018 data. That was intentional to have data pre-pandemic, and now what we want to do is do a re-inventory using 23 data to really understand where we are at today. In addition to that, our original greenhouse gas inventory did not include the Pontiac redevelopment because it wasn't a reality yet, and so that will include those other facilities that we've added to our portfolio. Continuing our engagement, nothing is going to really change on that except for just hustling to try to fundraise for the Oakland Saves program. It was a wildly successful program, and so I've had several different conversations at the state level and with some other opportunity to see how we can continue to fund that. So if you have any ideas or would like to have a sidebar, I'd gladly have that conversation. And as I mentioned, we have an active Climate Corps application out to receive another round and to be a host site again, so fingers crossed, hopefully we'll be selected, and that Climate Corps member will then help with the re-inventory, and hopefully, if selected, we're able to then create a climate framework for the entire county. There's probably more. I'm over time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and thank you to the rest of the team who allowed me to kind of go over with time. Are there any questions?
We started you late, so that's okay. Commissioner Gershenson.
So, thank you. So great to have you on board. So a couple of years ago, you did a evaluation of all the buildings and what we
Yes.
were, and the enormous amount of money that we were gonna have to put into those buildings. And at what point do we get, is that included in the budget hearings? Are we gonna get an update on that from a certain
Sure,
department?
That's a good question. I think you maybe are referring to the campus, the sustainability plan. So that is a plan that is the basis for most of the work I've been working on. Some of the work that was in that plan is, well, I'd say a lot of that work that's in that plan is specifically with facilities. Some of the things that we've worked on over the last year is getting ready for the energy study, understanding the integration into sustainability into our new programs, such as the redevelopment in downtown Pontiac, the different efficiencies and upgrades that we're doing for our facilities, the EV infrastructure, and identifying that. When you start to dig into things, you kind of find some of the problems, which is why we then had to really focus in on the energy study that we need to do on campus. We have critical energy infrastructure concerns that we need to address. And if we want to move forward with our sustainability initiatives, we need to address some of those critical concerns in order to do that. And that isn't things like building electrification, potential decommissioning of the steam plant, understanding fuel switching and so forth. And so those things needed to happen before you could see some of the bigger capital changes. I'm happy to represent on the master plan, and maybe it's a good point to maybe say what has been done since that plan has come together. But a lot of that work is really in tandem with the facilities team, which we have been in close communication with.
Okay, I just wondered budget-wise too, where we were on that.
Sure.
But we can discuss
That
that
could be
at another
the facilities
time.
budget hearing that maybe next week we'll go through.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good question, and I do like the idea of maybe circling back now. It's been a couple of years since
Yep.
we allocated the money to do that study.
Yes.
And a lot of work has happened. So yeah, I think between you and facilities, if you could talk about it and talk to the staff and see
Sure.
if there's a good point, you can come back and share where we're at.
I think that, and I would be love to do that and happy to do that. And I think that it really dovetails with the capital, with the bonding, with the initiatives that we're going to be seeing with everything that needs to be done for infrastructure. So
Right. Good. Glad you're looking at it holistically.
Just
Commissioner Whitebird.
follow up on that, Jim Nash told us he wants to get rid of 5 buildings and build a new building. Did you look at those buildings? Did you look, or just campus buildings?
for what? Look at those buildings.
He has 5 water resource buildings around.
Sure.
And he says he wants to get rid of and build a new building. On sustainability, did you look at any of his buildings or was it just the campus?
For the campus sustainability plan, that was specifically this campus that we see here as well as Waterford Oaks. For the greenhouse gas inventory, it is comprehensive and includes all of our buildings. And that, I prefer to take that data-driven approach in evaluating from the greenhouse gas side and energy side. And so that did evaluate the WRC buildings as well as the park facilities as well. Yep.
And the $1 million and then different, in the very beginning with the $1 million that you
Yes.
got the state, are any employees paid for that $1 million?
No, it is only the infrastructure. It may cover a contractor,
No
things, but
positions.
no positions, no positions.
Thank you. Any other commissioners with questions or comments for Ms. Plutel? Ms. Commissioner Smith Charles.
That is me. I wasn't gonna say anything, but you said comments are available right now, and so I've kind of broadened my perspective about EV infrastructure, and I know I mentioned this to Gwen and Brendan, that just talking with some of the OEMs who had kind of retooled and restabilized their businesses to support the rush to get plug-in EV technology and capabilities and things like that. And they were feeling, particularly Kinmar in Southfield, was feeling like they rushed to this goalpost and then the manufacturer started to kind of pull away from the plugins. And so I'm just saying that, since our last conversation last year about this very thing, I am now a hybrid owner, and it's a generative braking or regenerative braking. And so if ever we find ourselves pinching pennies in terms of sustainability, and you're like, oh, gotta have this EV charging station in this location, and it's gonna cost this amount of money, but golly, we could use that to do something in LEED or something to retrofit a building. I feel like it's important we make space for the fact that maybe we don't need as many plug-in stations, because, the manufacturers are telling us they may be moving to a less plug-in, more braking style. So just, as we continue to be nimble, I didn't want you to feel held into something, and I'm certainly not the expert. But just as we continue to sharpen the saw and not tie up resources that perhaps we could use in other places in sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fortunate thing right now in this time is that there is so much funding available for EV infrastructure that we could maximize that to benefit us versus having to shift any funding to maybe support any future electrification in that way. And I think that we have certainly seen an interesting change in technology and just even offerings. As an EV driver myself, most people are going to be charging from their homes anyways. And that's why some of my focus honestly shifted to the more regional approach of really partnering with our other counties to understand what does the comprehensive infrastructure look like and what are those needs for the grid, because it may not mean that Oakland County as an employer has 30 charging stations, but it may mean that we have a super charging station outside of the courthouse because of the traffic and everything like that. So there's definitely a lot of moving parts to that evaluation, and so I really appreciate that. I think that it's really important to stay nimble on the new technologies. So
You're right. It took us how many years to get one charging station? So I don't think we're running off
we're out
to-
of date already.
I know. Well, we are, but we
that's our
aren't.
point.
I mean,
No,
10
yeah,
years from
we
now.
are. I think we are.
10 years from now, the technology's going to have
It's already
advanced
going to be
a lot.
different right now.
But yeah, right now we're in this transition
Yeah.
period and everybody's
I think
concerned, and
I
I'm
heard Ford's
glad
not
you
even
are,
making 'em.
I like the
Did you
word
hear that?
nimble. Yep.
Ford company's
That's
on hold.
good question. Thanks. Or comment or whatever it was, but yes. Anybody else, something for,
Actually, just a general question, this is more for you, Chair. So under executive office, like veteran services, senior services, is that a separate section or what does that fall under?
That's under public or
Public health.
veterans under
Economic development.
economic development. Oh, yeah, we moved it, economic
that's-
development.
that's-
Yeah.
and we'll be
It's not
doing
under
them
us.
next week.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it didn't fall under.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie, did you have anything you wanted to ask? You're there on the screen.
Because we moved veterans.
Commissioner Cavell?
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, Aaron, two quick questions. One, when do we hear back about the Climate Corps thing? Because I think the countywide climate framework seems super important. If I understood its purpose, it's to turn us from just how can the county fleet or the county buildings or the county campus be more energy efficient or more climate friendly, to then thinking about the county as a whole, right? The other 930 square miles of the county.
yes.
So, right. So how do we, what contingencies do we have if we don't get that Climate Corps grant to continue that research? Is question 1 of 2.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll hear within the next week. I did get a notice that we are on a wait list to be selected, so I sent a very nice email back saying I really hope we're considered because we had just such a good program with it. So we'll hear back within the next week or so if we were selected as a host site. And I've already spoke with my team about this idea and wanting to do it, so I think that everyone's bought in. It's just a matter of maybe shifting some of the other priorities and figuring out how we can make it work.
Cool. And then the last question was, and I think you might have touched on it, so forgive me if you already did, but just more clearly so I can understand. What opportunities do you see, if you have a minute, for the IRA, for either
the county specifically or your office being able to help coordinate with other organizations or entities or CVT?
There is a lot of funding underneath IRA and Bill, and we definitely, my team is very aware of all the different opportunities, some of which are some of the grants that I'm hoping to bring forth in front of the BOC for approval to apply for. The charging, fueling, and infrastructure, which goes back to the EV infrastructure deployment, and then the community change grant, which would be an advancement of Oakland Saves. The other things that we are leveraging through those two are the direct pay, which is the ability to receive essentially a tax credit or a tax rebate, even though we don't pay taxes on the renewable energy and energy efficiency and electric vehicle programs that we've done to date. We're doing that for the solar that we have on the evidence storage building, as well as the electric vehicles that we were able to procure over the last 2 years, actually, because they'll go retroactively. So that's something that we're actively working on. We're working with Corp Counsel and a pro bono legal entity that's helping some other communities understand this. Our hope is that then we can be a resource for our CBTs to also leverage and maximize the utilization of that program.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome for your questions, Commissioner Cavell. All right, I think that is everybody.
Thank you.
And thanks very much.
Can I just say how great it is to hear from Erin, because I'm not on any of your committees.
Oh, I know.
So this was such a great opportunity to hear about everything you're doing.
Great.
All right, let's take 5 minutes, and I am going to tell Todd that we're All right, our third group for today is the Public Communications Department. And I'm gonna make the assumption that since you guys all sit up there on the, over in the EOB meeting building, you've all talked to each other, fiscal and public communications and all that, so. No communicating going on between your two
That's the only department that doesn't communicate with them, right? That's a good one.
For
Let me
you,
say one thing, Madam Chair, is like, I have to say to them, if it wasn't for them, this book would not have been printed on time, presented to everybody, and even the same thing with the categorical book, so. Again, a great partnership with us at Fiscal, so thank you.
Excellent, good to know. Okay, we're on the categorical page 65 and the budget book page 252. And the floor is yours, Communications Department.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Afternoon. Oh, just get her clicker, yep.
Chair and Commissioners, thank you for being interested in what we're doing in DPC. So I wanted to start off by introducing the team. They are in the room and on the screen.
It's working if you,
Oh, you have to, somebody has to click outside of where they're.
there we go.
Cool. So I'm Teresa Racento, I'm the Director of the Department of Public Communications. You may know that we're a fairly new department. We were launched, I think, fiscal year 2021. And so I wanted to introduce the team that helps lead and make the great things happen. Start with Steve Dorsey, he's the newest member of our team. He helps lead our Creative Operations Department. Caitlin Keeler is our Marketing Communications Officer. Jim Ellison's our Chief of Older Adult Services, he's out sick today. And Tiffany Luke is out in the field today. She
I saw her earlier.
Did you, in South Lyon? Yep, in Lyon Township. And then Kathy Gray is our Senior Communications Advisor, and Bill Mullen is our Public Information Officer. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to interact with the team over the course of the past year. So our department's primary role is to be a resource for news and information to the public. And to align messaging that highlights the 8 strategic goals of the county. We also provide support for departments wanting to amplify their programs and services. And so we do that through targeted outreach with community engagement, like Tiffany was out today with the groundbreaking of the Ray's Coca-Cola new location. And we also help other departments with marketing and design needs, for instance. We help the Sheriff's Department with their annual report. We do an equalization newsletter, and we just help where we can. Because the nature of our role as a department, we're a public service department, we're not a revenue generator, so I'll just click and go straight to our expenditures. So from this chart, you can see since the creation in 2021, our actuals have been in line or below our adopted budget, and we're trending in that same direction for fiscal year 2024, where our total expenditures are expected to be within budget. And diving a little deeper into where we're spending our budget, the bulk of it is in personnel. The bump in fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025 comes from shifting some positions that were first being paid through ARPA funds and now have been reallocated to the general fund. Our internal support is a small part of the budget billed to us by IT for things such as computer usage and telephones. And we don't expect any changes in our operating expenses between fiscal 24 and fiscal 25. As of 2 months ago, DPC is fully staffed. We currently have no vacancies, which we're very excited about. And we're proud to say that our team is a great mix of gender, ethnicity, and newcomers, as well as people who've worked at the county for a long time. So I mentioned previously that our primary role is to reach and inform the public. And we approach it from the lens of 3 different focus areas: planning, content, and creative. And so just to take you through an exercise, I want to talk about how that works. Last weekend, we had the Festival of Flight Air Show at Lincoln County International Airport, and we segmented our work into those 3 categories. Our Planet team worked with colleagues at the airport to come up with the project management schedule for the event. Our Write It team crafted blogs and social media posts, and our Design It team worked on the flyers and signage and graphics, and our videographers created promotional videos prior to the event and videos that we showed after the event from what actually happened. And then we get support from both our public information officer, who sends out the media advisory and really encourages media to come to the event, and then our community engagement team. They go out and they spread the news throughout the communities. In fact, they believe we provided flyers for you all the week before so that you could spread it to your constituents as well. So I wanted to address some questions that you had for us prior. I'm happy to highlight a few of our priorities. I want to focus on community engagement and particularly senior outreach, because it's one of the crucial areas that we're focused on. We've participated in 35 public-facing events in 17 different communities in the last 6 months as it relates to seniors. Those include Coffees with Jim and sponsoring senior events where we go and we provide information and we hear from residents about things that matter to them. We're on our 2nd printing of the Senior Resource Guide. This is this brochure, and there are about 2,000 of them in senior centers across the county. You may have seen the Encore. This is our 2nd printing of the Encore. This is the senior newsletter that goes out to residents across the county, 60 years and older, who are registered voters.
So I'll ask this question now because we've all had it. We had a flyer come out to seniors a month ago with a picture of all of us individually. They came to our individual departments. Our individual districts with our picture on it. And I knew that it happened because I'm over 60 and I got one. But there's a number of commissioners who didn't know that it happened, and all of a sudden, we're all getting phone calls from our seniors because of those flyers. So I only point this out, if you're gonna do something that calls out the Board of Commissioners and individual commissioners or whatever, make sure that we're notified before that happens so that we, we're not getting an 8 o'clock in the morning phone call that we have no clue where this is coming from, so.
Sure,
just-
appreciate that
That was
feedback.
just a little hiccup that we just wanted to let you know.
This one will be hitting mailboxes next week.
Okay.
That's good. Maybe the end of this week, early next week. Yeah, so, but that's good feedback, I appreciate it.
Commissioner Smith Charles wants to get on to know.
So there's two things, because last fall, I think an Encore, or maybe it was earlier this year, an Encore went out. And I called people here at the county and they had no idea what an Encore was, and I certainly didn't know. And so I'm just curious if as I mentioned yesterday, we get things in our mailbox, like these big old flyers that I still don't quite always want, in our mailboxes. I think these are great opportunities to put in our mailboxes as well. Now, granted, we're not here every day, every week to maybe get it in the right time, but at least it's there. Just like I said, the seniors seem to really appreciate them, and we just hate to be like a bottleneck to not tell them what to be able to expect from the next step.
Yeah, I understand that, I appreciate that. We do have extra copies for commissioners, and I worked with Sarah, who is, she did take some for each of the commissioners, so we'll make sure that you all get them in the right spots.
That'd be great.
If mailboxes are not the right place, where should they go?
Our homes.
You want them mailed to your homes?
I mean, I just feel like the 19 of us.
Are you talking about one to your home? Because we were,
Just
okay,
one.
yes, we can do that.
Yeah.
We're also providing some for you to pass out to
know what they're talking about.
to residents if you like. We were providing those, but yeah, we can get you on the list to get them to your home.
I think that's a good idea too.
It is too, just so we know when someone calls what they're talking about.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay.
Questions? No. Another part of our budget is spending on planning and managing events. That's a huge part. Things like the State of the County that you all attend, 40 under 40, things like that. And because one of our KPIs is website accessibility, we're continuing to ensure that there's digital access for our residents. And we are doing lots of improvements to help ADA accommodations for people who have vision and hearing loss. So that's something that we're working on. And this coming year, we're excited that we're gonna be working on a language access initiative. This coming year, the question was what new communication technologies or strategies are planned? This coming year, the social team led by Kathy are gonna be more intentional with the targeted investments we're making, boosting Facebook posts and creating ads on social media. And we've found some success doing that already. With our 40 under 40 boosts, we had about 300 people apply for the position. And in the past, it was only about 100, so we've seen that has made a difference. Yeah. On the screen, you'll see the Follow Us ads that the OakGov channel has been running since July 11th. That ad will end on Friday, and we've gained 2,000 new followers just in that short amount of time. We'll use boosting for things like Acorn to Oak, and recently we boosted a jobs posting, just talking about jobs that were happening in Oakland County, and we saw huge engagement, about 2,500 clicks from that boost. So do that. I mentioned the air show already, but we also created a video ad to promote that, one of the things that we boosted, and we saw huge engagement, lots of new impressions from that video ad. We expect to boost other programs. One we might do is Savvy, to really alert residents and county employees to the portal that will allow them to get some guidance on alleviating their student loan debt.
Is that portal up, the Savvy portal?
The Savvy portal is still in negotiations right now, but it will be up soon.
I mentioned about this video in the lower left from that you guys played at the State of the County, if I'm not mistaken. I just thought it was such an impactful video. I haven't seen it since, but this lady here certainly stands out. I believe it was something about transportation, and you had these wonderful older adults like in the pool. I mean, it was just so well crafted and edited and staged, just the whole thing. I never got a chance to, because I really never knew who it raised up to compliment, but I just thought that was just a great video.
Yeah, we appreciate that compliment. Because another key strategy is to increase the unique and impactful storytelling, and that's what that's all about. We recently, during a press conference with the White House, we were able to highlight some of the residents that were there who have gotten some grants through Oakland Saves. And this woman that you just mentioned, her name is Sharmila, and her son was one of the young people with special needs, and he will hopefully soon be able to live independently in one of the homes that are being built. And yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to have stories that are resonating. We want to be able to reach people, because when people see stuff like that, they remember it and they share it, and then they learn about things that the county is doing. So we're actively mining for more stories. And we're gonna do it on a more consistent basis. And Steve and the creative team are gonna be crucial partners in making that happen, because those videos are powerful, like you said. And under Caitlin's leadership, we're also improving the way we work with departments across the county. We're trying to be more of a strategic partner so that we're in on the ground level when we hear about things that are happening, so we can be a little more creative and have more bandwidth and time to kind of do brainstorming and do creative things, so we're not always doing things exactly the same way that we've done it in years past. And because we're always trying to find new avenues to reach people, another strategy that we're looking at is the potential of a podcast. Kathy's great idea. We're still investigating and doing some research on how that might happen, but always looking for new strategies and opportunities to do the communication differently. So one of the questions you asked was about transparency. I think it was transparency and public engagement initiatives. And so, transparency is integral to our mission, as a community service department. I said before that our main focus is making sure that residents and, you know, the businesses and stakeholders know what's going on. So we are trying to do that on so many levels. And one of the ways we are doing that is making sure that there's information available to the public. Things like the ARPA report that we just released, it kind of laid out where we spent the money, and it's holding us accountable to the public on showing how that money is being spent. And even the new county directory, people now have an opportunity to visit this, to see this online, and they can find their elected officials and their non-elected officials.
I'm happy about that because I have had more people, when I've tried to hand them a book, say, I don't want a book. Can I get this information online?
Steve's team did a great job in making sure that happened, so.
Have we all seen the American Rescue Plan Act report? Have we gotten that at the board?
If you don't mind, I'll address that, Commissioner. You have, we forwarded it, Michael, the day we filed it, which was
Okay.
July 31st. We shared it with Michael Andrews, who shared it with the board. So it's a link, it's not a hard copy, it's a link to the actual
Oh,
Ramona
it's a link,
website,
okay,
yeah.
we didn't get the report.
We didn't print
in
that,
hard
it's
copy.
several hundred pages, and it was designed to be transmitted to the US Department of Treasury and then posted on our website in an easy to read way, so.
And all those
you have a
gory
link to that.
details and, yeah.
All the gory details, where we stand with everything, yeah, so that's there, and I can make sure that we resend that to everybody if you wanna make sure.
It's all right, we've just had a lot of information coming our way in the last couple of weeks and.
Lots of reports, lots of numbers, I know.
Okay, thank you.
And we did receive a file at this committee, we can do that again in the future.
Okay. Commissioner Long.
Thank you. Since we talked about the directory, so Commissioner Whiteburn, and I just said yesterday, and then I got a couple commissioners on texting me on my phone today. It was the first year you guys took over, I think, the directory from the clerk's office, and it's really late. So I'm wondering, is there gonna be a more timely, I mean, I think all of us are gonna win, but it's like we're changing terms. I think we're all gonna be back here. That's one of my predictions, so we'll see if I'm right. But in my in January, it could be different commissioners, so it's pretty late to come out. So is there a reason why it was so late? Can we be more, timely? It used to come out in March when I first got elected. So I think August is really late for if it's gonna be every year.
Sure. The goal is for the next one to be out by the end of first quarter.
Okay.
Late because we did a wholesale redo. Hopefully you noticed some of the cool changes and the new photos and the way it was organized a little bit differently. But yeah, the plan is moving forward to be out before the end of first quarter.
And maybe maybe it's something that we put online and do it every 2 years or something, instead of every year, cause it is, I know there's a huge cost, it's a pretty, the seniors I give it to like the printout thing, they say they can't find anything online, and I get it, cause sometimes I'm looking for resource numbers online and I can't find them either, so a lot of people do like the printout, but it might be something that we might wanna consider. I mean, I don't know if it's a board of commissioners that it's every 2 years or something, I don't know, but I was just a little concerned, and I knew it was your first year, so I don't wanna be like really negative, but we just wanted to, it needs to be out a little bit earlier. And I'm sure you guys probably thought that too, so.
We did. We did a lot of work. We're really proud of it. A lot of calls being made to make sure everything's accurate, and the design is just spectacular. I hope you like it.
Okay, thank you.
So there are many ways that we share information with the public. I already mentioned earlier that Tiffany is out in the field, building relationships throughout the county and alerting the community programs and services. We have an Oakland County blog that is really taking off. That's a place where people can go to get some information. Recently, we've seen in the last 6 months about a 7,000 views increase, so that's pretty cool. We do press conferences and events, all ways that we're able to inform the public. But one of the most effective ways, obviously, is getting the message across is through traditional media, online, print, and radio, and that's a testament to the work that Bill does. You'll see here a sampling of the stories we landed in the past year. And we're actually putting out so many new press releases because we have so many great stories to tell in Oakland County. We've seen a 61% increase in the number of press releases we've put out between April and June of this year compared to the same time period last year. And if you read the clips where Oakland County is mentioned, you'll see that it's not just the same outlets. We've had about 70 different outlets in the past year that we are targeting. So we're excited about continuing that success trajectory in the coming years.
Oh, is that you?
That's what I got.
Okay.
Good job.
Does anybody turn it over to the commission? Commissioner Rahman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation, appreciate it. Just wanted to ask you quickly on expenditures, and this may just be similar, Cheryl, to what we've talked about in the past. It's looking like salaries and fringe have, if I'm reading this correctly, have gone up 21 to 23%. Is that just same kind of thing where we're moving it?
I'm sorry.
This is page, I'm looking at page 65 in the small book.
Okay.
Your salaries and fringe.
Yeah, this is, as we talked about, it's a newer department. So as the department grows, that's why you see these, cause it was 23, is that what you said? 21 when we first started?
Yes.
And I see Walt standing up.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, if what you're looking at,
Ominous.
it might be you're looking at the fact that we had 3 positions that had been ARPA funded until this
Oh, that's
fiscal year that are now general fund dollars. So, and that was something that you passed in the 3-year budget last year to plan for that to start in fiscal year 25. So now you're seeing, so when you see a jump from last year to this year in terms of salaries, that's what you're getting the increase, the shift from ARPA to general fund, which had been planned all along and built into the budget from the get-go. So sorry,
So it's sustainable.
this was a Cheryl question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, cause I know what you were looking at, so I'm gonna go sit over here.
Cheryl forgot, you're fine.
You knew it, so.
All right.
If you know the answer.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that's the one thing I wanted
Fine.
First thing.
to confirm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one other quick question, as it relates to the Senior Advisory Council, within this purview, correct? I'm assuming with Jim Ellison, right? Okay. How much communication or contact do we get with them? So I'll tell you, like, I have my representative, and we usually do check-ins, but it's not always regular. So a lot of times I feel like I don't necessarily know what's going on at that level. And to be able to communicate and engage with that population and that demographic would be super helpful. I don't know how the other commissioners feel or if they have more regular interaction with them. But I feel pretty far removed from that group, at least as an individual commissioner, so I don't know.
I wanted to point out first that they're featured in our new edition of the Encore. So I don't know if your person is on here, but we have a photo of them. I know that Jim and Denisha, who's his assistant, they do attend that. I believe it's a monthly meeting. And so I want to make sure that I understand your question. You're hoping that we provide information about what's coming out of that
Well,
committee?
just generally to us, whether it's to us as commissioners, so we can go back and relate to the rest of the constituents who may not be as plugged in. Because the SAC, as I understand, is each representative, will be from our district, and they advocate for the senior centers and the senior population. How effectively that messaging is getting out to the community, I don't know. Because I'm far enough removed that yes, I'll check in periodically and know that they're meeting and things are going on.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know what the updates are, and
I hear
I'm
you.
definitely not sure that any of that's been communicated to my constituents. So that's one thing I just wanted to check in and find out if there's a process already in place for that, and if so, how that's run.
I appreciate the question, Commissioner. I will talk with Jim and see what we can do and what that process is.
Perfect, thank you.
It may be related a little bit to the individual person too, because I have a senior advisory council member who's calling me and texting me all the time.
I just, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna discourage it,
Right.
but yeah, she's communicating more than she probably needs to, but I'm fine with that.
Right.
But that's not your experience, so,
Right.
yeah.
But I have a
My
newer
old
person,
one-
so
my
maybe I
older
haven't set that
person was.
expectation, so I'm not sure.
And are all of them filled? All 19? So that's,
I don't know.
they're not even all 19
Right.
to have a senior advisor, so.
I just quit my new one, so
So you
I
get
have to
a point, a
find
new
someone
one,
to
right?
get.
I mean, this
My
is really
other one
important
communicated with me all the time, I was gonna
thing
go with
that-
Gwen, like if you get
I
someone
inherited
really
my
active, they're gonna tell you.
Right.
Yeah, I had a great one that always communicated, and then I replaced and she already quit, so
Are
I gotta find
you
something.
doing the poking though? Is it on your end?
Huh? No, they constantly kept me, like she said, updated by email, telephone, text, and then I replaced her and that one couldn't make it to meetings and already quit, so I gotta find another Barb is her name. I gotta find another Barb in Commerce, so.
Sorry, it was a little bit tangential to this, but I just would
But, yeah,
Yeah, we'll follow up then.
Okay, thank you.
but I get, getting it out to the community is what something they
Just so
can
the
do.
world knows, my Noreen, it constantly tells me stuff, so that's good.
Just gotta find one that constantly likes to talk to you,
That's the
Ajay.
thing.
Yeah.
The
Find
one
it.
I have now, you know, came to me and said, I wanna do something, and she was a
Yeah,
quite
that's what you
young,
need, yeah.
energetic senior, and I was like, yeah, I have an opening, can I put you in there? And then she
Yeah.
just
It might
took
just,
right off, but that's.
it might be just per individual, you know.
Yeah, the one I had before moved away, so, yeah.
Is that?
Commissioner Smith Charles.
Yeah, so what's the turnaround time typically for, like, if the event is at noon, like, for example, that top middle picture was roughly at noon on a hot, muggy, stormy Michigan
And your hair
summer day.
looks, your hair looks fine in the picture.
Like literally,
she's trying to say.
our wonderful executive was telling those wonderful homeowners, don't be too long-winded, don't be too long-winded. And then our beautiful executive and Tom Perez were long-winded. And so we ended up just barely missing the rain. So, but my real question is, you were there, we like got out of there with our lives. Just what's the turnaround typically on just event happening? Because I'm usually anxious to share, but by 9 p.m. I'm on to something else and forgotten all about it. So is there, because I'm sure there's probably some editing and things like that, music overlay, and so what can we expect?
And so you're talking about turnaround for like social? Is that the
Yeah,
question?
like when's it typically out there? Because for a while, I thought Eric Singal was the only commissioner. I'm just gonna say it. Because all the media seemed to focus on that commissioner, whom I love. Don't worry, I think she's great. I just wanna make sure I am finding it and not feeling like a stepchild on the board. There's other commissioners I haven't seen at all. So, and maybe it's just the events they go to, but I'm just curious, if you attend something, should you expect to see it? If you see staff there that's taking pictures, because we have staff taking pictures, and I see it on our board, LinkedIn, but I'm still trying to figure out the connection.
We had social posted during the event. The video took a little bit longer because there's some editing that goes along with that. And I think that there were 2 or 3 posts after the event on that day.
Okay.
But I don't think that the video went up until the next day.
Okay.
So, you know,
But the goal is always as timely as possible to let people know what's happening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I know I can't keep up with my own social sometimes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Commissioner Cavell, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have, I guess, one question / comment, that, and everyone can hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah, loud today, Charlie. Yeah.
Okay, anyways, okay, my question is, I've run into, when talking to residents, 2 kind of things, but stemming from one thing. So the thing is, people not knowing the county government's role in their life, and then second, people needing services that the county has access to give them, but they just don't know what to do next. So what we've done here in our area is just used our own like campaign money to make a flyer that has helpful resources and phone numbers and stuff, and a QR code to like the county website that has the resources and directories. But I think while the stuff that's shared is very cool, while the stuff that gets in the news is very cool, are we able to, I guess, one thing I think of is perhaps something like franking, to just give a once over to people, like a refrigerator resource, because there are a lot of people that could use a lot of the county's programs that they're already paying for with their taxes, but I don't think we're able to get to them because they don't need student loan forgiveness or medical debt forgiveness or Oakland Saves. They need the VA stuff, but they just don't know about it. There's work on that, but just a holistic approach so that also when we do ask them for money from their taxes, they go, this is a great investment because this county spends my money on what is it, 15 departments and 36 divisions and things like lactation consultants and all that. Has there been any thought or conversation about just an introduction to the people of the county about the county?
Making sure that I understand your question, are you asking about a mailer, Commissioner?
I mean, that's what I think of, but it doesn't have to be that prescribed, right? I'm trying not to do the thing where I say, you know, if you could just make my face a little bigger and everyone else's face a little smaller type thing. I'm trying not to prescribe it because you're the experts, but a resource that then can be something that in effect is something like a refrigerator resource where it's, oh man, I lost my job. What do I do? Well, shit, Oakland County has Jennifer Llewellyn in workforce development and Oakland 80. We gave them dozens of millions of dollars in ARPA and they have an equal allocation. We have bunches of resources we want to give you about helping you find a job or make your business grow or fly out of an Oakland County airport or any number of other things, right? But I just think people don't know that unless they like have a friend that told them, hey, I work at the county and you know, if you need help with your water bill, just call this number because that's WRC. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. And that's one of the reasons why we think the storytelling is so important. Being able to find real people who've experienced those services and can share. One of the reasons why we're boosting our social so that we can tell those stories and amplify that work. One of the reasons why our community engagement folks are out in the community hoping to spread the word about the events that are happening, our veterans resource fairs and our senior resource fairs. But that's something that to think about for sure. I appreciate the comment and the nudge.
Yeah, I just happened on that topic, I happened to be looking at something on my own desk at home a couple of nights ago, and it was from CNS, and it was all the mental health resources, all on a card like that. And I have it there because when people call me, but same sort of thing, you know, if you had the top 15 things people are looking for at the county on a.
It's a good idea. The first edition of the Encore, we had a thing where they could cut it out and put it on their those numbers for the seniors. So it's something to think about for the broader population.
Right, good. Commissioner Cavell, did you have anything to add?
Other than like, I think what all y'all are doing is great, and I know this is a new fledgling department, so I think you're doing great, but just appreciate you listening to the needs that I've heard from people. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, then I think we're finished with this department. And we really appreciate you coming in today and sharing and taking all our questions.
Thank you.
It's always really good for us because I learn every group that comes in here, I learn stuff about, so. Really appreciate your work. You do make Oakland County look pretty good.
Appreciate it, Commissioners.
I saw the flight video stuff.
Did you see the flight video?
Yeah, it came through on my Facebook, so I did see that. Bye.
You guys. Cool. Week one down.
Public comment.
Oh, public comment, right, I forgot. Is there anybody from the public who's here who would like to address this group at this time? Seeing no one, I will close public comment and.
Thank you for coming.
This meeting adjourned.
I appreciate it.
You said it right off the bat. Gavel, right.